Here we have the Behringer CT100. Let me do a quick close-up of this so you can see it in all its glory. A lot of doodads on here. Lights, you'll be using it in this position. Okay, so let's run this through the paces. First, it is battery operated. Uses a simple Phillips screw to open the compartment where the batteries are located. Very easy, so long as you have a screwdriver with you. Batteries are AA. Standard batteries, battery compartment. This holds the batteries in. Put it in like this. Don't lose the tiny screw, and it is tiny. And hopefully these are one of these devices you don't need to change the batteries all that often. You probably don't use it so much to the point where you're going to run the batteries down unless you're truly a full-time professional audio specialist and you're constantly testing cables. The other thing that this has is a handy dandy belt pack, or belt clip I should say. That'll go here, and then you can walk around with it and test cables from your hip. The only criticism that some people have had with this belt clip, they say it's very sturdy and very effective, but when it comes time to change the battery, you actually have to take the belt clip off first to get access to the battery screw. So that was one small critique there. Okay, so here we have the unit, and let's go ahead and run it through its paces. There's two modes. There's a test tone mode and a cable tester mode. Most of the time you'll likely be in the cable tester mode when you want to test a bad cable. So we'll go through each one of these connections here, at least 5 out of the 6. And I'm going to start with the cable tester mode. Here I have a traditional 1/4 inch TS cable, tip sleeve. Another good view of that here. It's usually depicted by a black thin line here. So this is the tip, and this is the sleeve. All right, so you put the cable in and out, and then hit the reset button. The reset button will reset the flag for your intermittent connection, which determines if there's a bad cable or not as you wiggle it. The pattern for a TS cable is this. You've got your diagonals in either direction, and that essentially just means the sleeves are connected to the sleeves in and out, the tip is connected to the tip in and out, and that's the pattern you want for the 1/4 inch. So take note of that. Now, for testing the intermittent connection, literally it's very unscientific. You just wiggle, squish, twist, pull, push and twist, pull and twist, all of that stuff. You basically try to get the cable to fail. If it doesn't fail, the intermittent lights won't illuminate, and you've got a great cable. So that's a 1/4 inch that works and has been successfully tested. Here I have a 1/4 inch that I've been using for years, and it has an intermittent problem, which I didn't realize until after I got this device, actually. When you first put the cable in, we get a correct pattern, and you think, A-OK, this cable is perfectly fine. But upon further inspection, using this intermittent option, and remember you have to reset it after you connect it, and you start wiggling, you say, well, still good there. That line is fine, that side of it. Check this out, though. This one, if I push in ever so slightly, oh, I guess it's this first one after all. See, it's very intermittent. But in any case, as you wiggle this, now we start seeing some short circuiting going on here and some problems. So this cable needs to be repaired or replaced. So that goes in the boneyard for now. So that's the 1/4 inch. Now let's take a look at the 1/8 inch, which is on the side here. Each one of these has an in or an out to complete the connection. So I have here, this is a TRS, tip ring sleeve in miniature. This is the 1/8 inch. These are common for, computer type connections, older style phone connections. Plug it in, hit reset. The pattern for a TRS is this diagonal going down here like this. And that's indicating that those connections are correct. And then I can wiggle here at the base of the jack or the base of the plug. Squish the cable around, try to get it to fail. If there's no failure on the intermittent lights, that cable tests fine. Now notice how every time I plug it in and unplug it, you get these intermittent lights because the connection has in fact failed, and it sticks there until you hit reset. So that's just an observation. So that's the 1/8. Now let's do another common connection, the famous XLR connection. You'll need, in this case, a male and a female, which is traditionally what you might have on a PA system. So out goes to out, in goes to in. That'll be very obvious as to which goes where. Plug those in. Push reset. The pattern for the XLR is the same as the TRS. It's got the diagonal going down. That is the correct pattern there. And then you can do the twist test. Try to get it to fail. Squish the cable, move it around, bend it, pull it, but don't pull it out, but push it and pull it. And obviously that is a good cable. So that's the XLR. Let me jump over to the RCA, and I'll simultaneously test two things. I'll not only test this RCA connection here, which is sort of the old-fashioned, RCA connector. I don't know if many devices are using that connector anymore. Then on the other end, I have a TS cable, tip sleeve. So provided I go in to out, that should make a full connection. By the way, this cable is a blast from the past. This is the gray cable sold by Radio Shack back in the early 80s or mid 80s, even early 90s. But I used to get a ton of these just to make the connections, just so in all my early audio experiments. So the pattern on this is going to be unique and different because of the way this cable is wired in particular. But the pattern, I wouldn't get too hung up on that. I just use it more for your intermittent connection test, and that cable is fine. Notice that if I flip-flop these out to in, into out, like so, the pattern is going to be slightly different. Here we have a pattern that's top, bottom, and middle on the right side. This is sort of top, top, middle on the top side. Anyway, so that's just proving that you can mix and match things. Another great example of a mix and match is we already tested our TRS cable, tip ring sleeve cable, but oftentimes we use adapters like this, so we can adjust a 1/4-inch headphone out to maybe a mini jack into whatever headset we're using. So you can mix and match if you want to make a full connection. So I'm going in here on the 1/4-inch, out here on the 1/8 inch, like so, and push reset, and I get the exact same valid pattern in terms of connection. But at this point now I can test to see if this particular jack is working. Once you know the cable works, you can find out if this adapter works. So that's one adapter. Let me try another adapter. So testing your adapters is just as easy as testing your cables, provided you're using a valid cable. So that's another little tip where you can mix and match things. Okay, now let's take a look at the test tone operation of this. I'll turn it off for now, and I'm going to use a test tone from the XLR option. This unit will produce tone for testing. It's going to come out any of the outs. So in this case, I'll use the out from the XLR out, and then the other end of this is going to go into my audio interface, which is essentially acting as a mixing board. You already heard it there, click. So when I do a test tone here, it's going to provide a tone for me. And what this is doing is it's testing to see if my audio chain is correct, or at least from a cable standpoint. As an example, let's say you're working with a professional system and you have a snake and you want to make sure that a particular snake jack works. You can use a short XLR cable from the Behringer into the snake, and then if you hear it through the PA, then you know that that snake run is, or that complete run is working. So that's an example of where you'd use test tone. So let me just show you three options. You have three different levels of test tone. This is -50 MIC, you have -10, and then +4. So they vary accordingly depending on what it is. Now, in addition to the different levels of tone, you have two types of tone, or two frequencies. You have the 1 kilohertz, which is what happens when the light is on here. And then you have the lower tone, which is the 440 hertz. Now, you might have also noticed, if you're watching closely here, it's also saying that this XLR is receiving phantom power from my audio interface, which it is, available on pin 2 and 3 or tip and ring 2 and 3. So let me turn off my phantom power, and there it is, light off. Then I'm going to turn my phantom power on, and there it is, indicating that. So I think that we've gone through everything here. except one thing, and I saved the best for last, and that is MIDI. So here we have the 5-pin DIN MIDI, although I believe this tests only the 3-pin configuration, and I'm not an expert in MIDI cabling, but I believe it does test just the 3 pins. In any case, you'll be putting the MIDI in and out here. Basically, same cable in and out. Just make sure one is on either side. You're good to go. Plug that in. There's my MIDI. Hit the reset. MIDI will also present itself as this diagonal line from top right to bottom left. Do the squish test, the twisty, twist, push, pull, all that good stuff. We've got a good MIDI cable. Now, for those of you who think that MIDI cables are sort of impenetrable or more reliable than an XLR or a 1/4-inch audio cable, they actually go bad too. Here's a fairly new MIDI cable that I'm sure I've been stretching, pulling, pushing, and who knows. But I'm going to put it in here for a quick test. And already I can see I don't have the correct pattern. I've only got 2 out of the 3 lights. And as I move one of these, this top one here, you see the light shorting and coming and going, showing me I have a problem here with this pin 1. Pin 1 should be illuminated full time, but it isn't. And just my ever slight touching of this is ruining it. MIDI is hard to diagnose because it doesn't continuously produce audio. It produces something you can't hear unless it's driving MIDI notes. So having something like this to test your MIDI cable is very handy, and particularly for keyboard players who use a lot of MIDI. Guitar players do too here and there, but it's definitely more keyboard oriented. So that takes care of the MIDI. So this is the Behringer CT100. And it's your new partner in crime when it comes to being a professional working musician and or audio specialist. Even guitar players would benefit from this. Oftentimes, us keyboard players are asked to do all kinds of sophisticated technology-related things that the drummers don't have to do. No offense, drummers. I know you guys are getting really sophisticated too. But there's no question that the people with the most wires and cables are keyboardists that have multiple keyboards. There's no question that that is the more sophisticated rig. Although I'm sure a few guitar players could give keyboard players a run for their money. And if you're using an electronic drum set, well, then you have your fair amount of cabling too. In any case, I have an Amazon affiliate link here below this video for this device if you should pick it up. It's fairly affordable for what it does. It's one of those things you don't use every day, but when you need it, and it really does tell the truth. And it can save you from some embarrassing moments during a performance. That's not when you want to find out your cables are bad. Thanks for joining me on this video. We'll catch you on the next one.